present my screen. And hopefully you can see that. I think you can. Someone get on if you can't. But so trig identities, this is the unit that we've kind of been like working up towards. And I really wish this unit was in person, but it's not. And you do need a lot of this for calculus. So these are the identities that we're working with, okay? And I went over this. If you watch the video, I go over like how to find all of these. So I'm not going to go over that right now, but whoops, what just happened? I'm not going to go over that right now, but this tangent equals sine over cosine. Always use this one over this one, okay? Is this still on my, 1 second. This isn't presenting it. Can we see this? Can everyone see this? Hopefully. Interrupt me if you can't see this. I don't know what just happened. But play from current side. So always use this one over this one down here. And same thing here. Always use this cotangent one over this cotangent one. Okay, and then these are all the reciprocals, which we should know. So when doing this, I'm just going to go over a few examples. All we're doing today is simplifying trig identities. And the first thing always, I would write this down, always get it in terms of sine and cosine. Okay, sine and cosine, if you put it in terms of sine and cosine, that is always your first step. Like if you're stuck, have no idea where to go, put it in terms of sine and cosine. So cosecant is the same as 1 over sine. And tangent, I'm not going to use 1 over cotangent because that's not sine over cosine. I'm going to use the sine over cosine, this one up here. Oh, okay. Okay, and then from here, those signs cancel out, and I'm left with 1 over cosine, which 1 over cosine is secant. Okay. And then you're done. All we're doing is we're breaking this down until we can get to the point that it's just one trig identity. Okay, when basically what that means is I could plug like 45 into here and I could do cosecant of 45 times tangent of 45. And that's going to be the same exact thing as secant of 45 degrees. Okay, it's just simplifying this down. And this becomes really useful when you get into calculus and when you're finding integrals and stuff. So this one right here, 1 plus sine of theta, 1 minus sine of theta, and then cotangent squared over cotangent squared of theta. So for this, before I put it in terms of sine and cosine, if there's anything that can be multiplied or that can be factored, we want to do that first. So I want to multiply the top first. So if we come down here, I have 1 plus sine of theta and 1 minus sine of theta. Well, I just FOILed this or distributed it. So 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times negative sine of theta is negative sine of theta. Sine of theta times 1 is positive sine of theta. And then sine of theta times sine of theta, negative sine of theta is negative sine squared. And then these two right here are going to cancel because we have the positive and the negative. So we're left with 1 minus sine squared of theta. But if you remember back to your Pythagorean identities, I can manipulate this right here to look like 1 minus sine squared of theta if I just subtract this sine over, which means cosine equals 1 minus sine squared. So this is the same as cosine squared of theta. Okay, please, please interrupt me if you have questions. But that means that this is the top of this fraction here. So we have cosine squared of theta over cotangent squared of theta. Now, before I change this to all sines and cosines, I'm going to rewrite this fraction as a division problem. You can always rewrite fractions as division problems. And it helps me out to see it like this versus like this. Okay, so now if we change this, change everything to sines and cosines. So cotangent is cosine over sine. So that's going to be cosine squared over sine squared. And then when you divide, you flip and multiply. So we can flip that, and that's the same as cosine squared times sine squared over cosine squared. I can put that over 1 to make this a little bit easier to see. Those cosine squareds cancel, and I'm just left with sine squared of theta. Okay. Questions on that one at all?
Okay, I'm confused.
Okay.
I'm confused. Like, how does it's just like hurting my brain? How does it work from like changing like cosine to like I don't know. I'm just confused.
So where did you get? Was it right here?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you get how I got the 1 minus sine squared of theta?
Yes.
Okay. So if you look at this right here, and I can't write. I wish I could write, but so cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here, if I subtract the sine squared over to this side, then I'm left with cosine squared of theta equals 1 minus sine squared of theta.
Okay.
Which means that this 1 minus sine squared of theta equals cosine squared of theta.
Oh, okay, because it like, okay, I see now.
Because I just
Okay.
manipulated this right here. Okay, are we good with that now?
Yes, thank you.
Wait, does cotangent squared of theta, is that the same thing as cosine squared of theta over sine squared of theta?
Yes, yes. So cotangent of theta, if we're looking at this right here, you can just square everything here and then it will make it squared here. So cotangent squared of theta is the same thing as cosine squared of theta over sine of theta, sine squared of theta.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions with this? Okay, can I move on then? Okay, let's look at this one. So this one is one of the homework ones. Like this is going to be on that little puzzle that you're supposed to do. So going back to this idea right here, that 1 minus sine squared equals cosine squared of theta. And we got that from this 1 plus sine of theta and 1 minus sine of theta. Okay, we need to use that idea here. Because like looking at this, it's like, well, I don't know what to do. It's already in sines and cosines. There's nothing we can factor. There's nothing like to multiply out here. But we can manipulate this sine squared of theta using the Pythagorean identities. Okay, and same thing we did before. So cosine squared of theta plus sine squared of theta equals 1. I can subtract this cosine squared of theta over to this side. So then I end up with sine squared of theta equals 1 minus cosine squared, or theta x, whatever, but 1 minus cosine squared of x. Okay, so this and this are the same thing. Are we okay with that? Is there questions on how I got from this part to this part?
Why would you change it to that if it's already like, doesn't that just make it more complicated rather than simplifying it?
Well, so it's because I'm going to end up factoring this top part right here, and then we're going to have things that cancel. Because right now, like there's nothing we can do to the top part, so we have to start manipulating it, and it's going to get a little bit more complicated before it gets to its simplest form.
Okay.
Okay, this is kind of a weird one. Like this one is definitely the hardest one you guys are going to see today, but it's just we need to manipulate it, make it a little bit harder before it can get easier.
I'm just a bit confused on, so like, what is the goal of this problem right now? Like, what are we trying to get to here?
So we want to get it down to just one, so like just one of these trig functions here. We only want it in terms of like a sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, or cotangent. We only want one of them in there versus two different things. We're just simplifying it as far as we possibly can.
Okay.
Okay. And we're going to end up getting rid of the fraction. Okay, we don't want this fraction in there. We're going to get rid of the fraction. Okay. Are we okay? Can I move forward?
Yeah.
Okay, so here, this is the difference of squares because a squared is the same as 1 squared. B squared is the same as cosine squared of x, like b would be cosine, a would be 1. So then the top of this factors to 1 plus cosine of x and 1 minus cosine of x. And we could check this. I didn't do it over here, and I can't really write on this. Oh, maybe I can. Let's see. So if we checked this, if you multiplied this part out, you're going to end up with 1 minus, I'm writing with my computer. This is kind of hard. So cosine of x plus cosine of x, and then minus cosine squared. Whoops. Yeah, you get it. So then these cancel, and we're left back where we started here. Okay, so this is the same thing here. And the reason we did that is because now these things are going to cancel. Okay, so then those cancel, and I'm just left with 1 minus cosine of x. And now this is in terms of one trig function. I know there's the 1 minus, but there's nothing we can do about that. If this was a cosine squared of x, we could say it equals sine squared of x, but since it's not, then this is your final answer there. Okay, there's going to be 2 you're going to see like that as you're going through the homework today. So there are questions on that. Okay, let's do this one. So cosecant squared of x times tangent squared of x times cosine of x. So here, it's not all in terms of sine and cosine. That's always the first step if it's not in terms already. So cosecant squared of x, you can always put squareds on these ones. These ones already have the squared. You can't like just square them. But so cosecant squared of x, that's the same thing as 1 over sine. So that means this is 1 over sine squared of x. Tangent is sine over cosine, so tangent squared of x would be sine squared of x over cosine squared of x. And then we have the cosine of x here. And then we can start canceling stuff. I'm just going to put that over 1. So those sine squareds of x cancel. And I'm left with cosine of x over cosine squared of x. And a lot of you can probably see this, like one of those cosines is going to cancel. But if you can't see that right off the bat, you know this cosine squared is the same as saying that there are 2 cosines. It's the same as like if you had an x. So if we had an x squared, that's the same as x times x. Right? So that means that's why we can break this up like that. But then it's really easy to see, oh, okay, one of those cosines is going to cancel. We're left with 1 over cosine of x, which 1 over cosine of x is the same as secant of x. Okay. Questions with that one? Okay, that's the last problem I'm going to go through, but I do want to go back to the Canvas page. So yours obviously looks a teeny bit different than this, but there's no quiz. There's just this assignment right here. So when you do this assignment, if you just click right here, it will bring up the assignment for you. Make sure you save it. So like save or make a copy for yourself and just do the entire presentation. And then this will put it into your thing. So it's on yours, or else it's not going to save and you're not going to be able to share it. What's happening? But then right here, once you've done that, share it right here with me. It's probably not letting me because I've made like a million copies of this, but share this with me and then just put alexis.gagan@csddocs. It will probably pop up .org and just make sure you share it with me to get credit. Or the other thing some people have been doing is I got a screenshot of like this. You can email me a screenshot if that's easier for you. But that's the other way that we can do this. So let's do like the first, I'll do like 2 for you or something. But we're going to put D right here. So this is where D goes. And this is why you need to make a copy or it's not going to let you do this. Let's see. There's mine. Okay, so if we move these back, so you're going to start with D right here. And these might be in a different order now than what yours started with, but that's okay. So it says to put D right here. So that's where we're going to put D. Then if we zoom in on this, so we need to figure out some of these. So like sine over cosine is tangent of X. So then we can find which one of these has tangent of X, and it's this one. And so then I'm going to put tangent right there. Okay, sine squared of X over 1 plus cosine of X. We just did that. It's 1 minus cosine of X. And so we just need to find that one. It's right here. And then so you match up the sides together. And once you do it, they will all just fit in here perfectly. Okay, and I'm not going to post the answer key today, but I will post it like in a couple days, probably maybe tomorrow. But I want you guys to do it first and see if you can get it and then go and double check the answer key after. Okay, and once you share it with me, which I bet that's what all these emails are right now. Yeah, see, look, everyone's sharing this with me right now. So just share it with me and I can give you credit for it because I can just get in, see that you did it, and I'll give you credit for it. And then that's all that we're doing today. Okay, and all of these ones are honestly easier than the ones that I just went through. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that you will get these ones a little bit easier. If you get stuck on one, you can stay on and ask me or send me an email, whatever you want to do. But that's basically all that I had. If you have questions, feel free to stay and ask questions. If not, this is recording, so I'm just going to stop the recording in probably like a minute or so, and I will post this so that you can go back. Like if you got kind of lost at some point or if you came in late, you can go back and watch it. Okay, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So yeah, if you have questions, you can ask questions, but.
Gagan, I have a question.
Okay.
How's your quarantine going?
It sucks. I hate it. How's your quarantine?
It sucks, let me tell you.
Yeah.
It's not going good.
It's not fun, but
No,
whatever.